I did it for them. I did it to make you stop what you did to me, to the future generations of the weak and the defenseless.
You have vandalized my heart, my soul, and torched my conscience. You thought it was one pathetic void life you were extinguishing. Thanks to you, I died, like Jesus Christ, to inspire generations of the weak and the defenseless people.
Some kids are often seen as symbols of innocence and purity, while others reveal a darker side, committing acts so unimaginable that if not captured on camera, no one would believe it. So here are 10 disturbing last recordings of evil kids.
No, you piece of punk ass! Do not mess with that friggin' kid! If you do, I'll rip off your goddamn head and shove it so far up your friggin' ass, you'll be coughing up dandruff for 4 frickin' months!
Eric Harris and Dylan Claybold, orchestrators of the 1999 Columbine High School massacre. On the morning of April 20th, 99, Columbine High School senior Brooks Brown noted something strange. His friend Eric Harris had missed morning classes. Even weirder was that Harris, a straight-A student, had missed their philosophy exam. Now, just before lunch period, Brown walked outside toward the designated smoking area near the school's parking lot. On his way there, he saw Harris wearing a trench coat and pulling a bulky duffel bag from his car, parked far from its usual spot. As Brown began to question why he missed class, Harris interrupted, saying,
"It doesn't matter anymore. Brooks, I like you. Now get out of here and go home."
Brown was confused, but little did he know that his friend Harris had just saved him from witnessing one of the bloodiest school massacres in America's history. Eric Harris and Dylan Claybold met in middle school, but didn't become inseparable until midway through high school. While some suggest that they were both targets of bullying, many more accounts say that they were quite popular and had a sizable friend group. In high school, they both got arrested for their first felony, breaking into a parked van and stealing electronic equipment. They were sent to a juvie diversion program, and once successfully completed, both boys were deemed rehabilitated and given clean records. However, this only propelled them to plan further mischief, most notably the infamous Judgment Day. 1998, both boys had already started planning for the school shooting. Harris dedicated himself to building dozens of explosives, pipe bombs, and crickets made from CO2 canisters. He looked into making napalm, and at one point tried recruiting a fellow classmate to help him make those bombs. However, when that classmate refused to be part of it, Harris played it off as a joke. Harris also noted students' movements and the number of exits in their school, while researching various loopholes in gun laws. He and Claybold managed to convince an 18-year-old mutual friend to buy him 2 shotguns and a high carbine rifle at a gun show. Later, Claybold bought a semi-automatic pistol from another friend who worked at a pizza shop. The guns were ready, and so were the killers. All that was left was to play out their theatrical side plan. 5:30 a.m., April 20th, 1999. Both boys get up and leave their houses to begin their final preparations for the shooting. From the outside, the massacre at Columbine High School looked primarily like a school shooting, right? But in reality, it was actually a badly bungled attack, and we'll explain why. The duffel bag Eric Harris was carrying when he talked to Brooks Brown contained one of several propane tank time bombs, 2 of which were placed in the cafeteria to bring down the ceiling. Now, this would have allowed Harris and Claybold to shoot students as they fled. Plus, Brown had also noted his friend's car was parked far from its usual place, and it was because Harris and Claybold's cars were rigged to explode as police, ambulances, and journalists arrived, killing many outsiders in the process. They also had a final bomb placed in a park 3 miles from the school, and it was set to go off before the others. This, they hoped, would draw away police, buying them time before authorities arrived and possibly killed them. They had planned to die at the hands of the police, but as we now know, none of that happened, because as smart as they were, neither of them knew how to wire a detonator, so none of the bombs went off. And before they began shooting, Claybold recorded Harris in the school's cafeteria, waiting for the time they had planned to carry out the attack. Disturbingly, that was the last recording of both boys, and once the carnage began, Claybold developed cold feet, especially after the bombs in the cafeteria didn't detonate. They were supposed to stand many yards from each other for an optimal firing range, but when the shooting started, the two were standing together at Claybold's assigned position. Many say this was because Harris had to convince Claybold to go through with the attack at the last minute. But even after that, Harris did most of the shooting. Here's some more footage of both men carrying out the shooting at the school's cafeteria. And while all that was going on, one teacher, Patty Nielsen, made this chilling 911 call from the school's library as Harris and Claybold approached her location.
What's your name, ma'am? Patty? He's yelling everybody get up right now. He's in the library. He's screaming everybody get up right now. Okay. I have him in the library shooting at students. There's a lady that I have in the library on the phone. Okay, try and keep as many people down as we can. Okay. Do you know who he is? Okay.
About a half an hour into the attack, Harris's shotgun recoiled into his face, breaking his nose. Security cameras showed they then tried to set off propane tanks with pipe bombs and shotgun blasts, but failed. Subsequently, they headed to the school's library with nearly 50 people at their mercy. However, they left, allowing the majority of students to escape. The next time they shot people, it was to end their own lives, bringing the total number of deaths that day to 15, with 24 casualties. 25 years after this massacre, and many other school shooters have been negatively motivated by their actions. As of April 2024, more than 415 people have been killed in school shootings, and 907 have been wounded.
He planned this out very carefully. He's not delusional in what he did. He knew exactly what he's doing. He was able to go through each one of his steps. And that's a psychopathic type of personality, not a psychotic one.
On April 16, 2007, a student of Virginia Tech University, SeungHui Cho, fatally shot and killed 32 people, making that the deadliest school shooting in U.S. history. And just like the Columbine shooters, SeungHui Cho ended up taking his own life.
You have vandalized my heart, my soul, and torched my conscience. You thought it was one pathetic boy's life you were extinguishing. Like Moses, I split the sea and lead my people, the weak, the defenseless, and the innocent children of all ages. You had 100 billion chances and ways to have avoided today, but you decided to spill my blood. You forced me into a corner and gave me only one option.
From the beginning, Cho never spoke. Not to other children, not even to his own family. Growing up in Seoul, South Korea, his mother agonized over his quiet behavior, and by the time the family relocated to the U.S., they believed he'd gain more confidence and get more sociable, but it only got worse. In 1992, the Cho family arrived in Detroit and then moved to Centerville, Virginia, with SeungHui Cho attending Westfield High School, one of the largest schools in Fairfax County. He was mocked and bullied by his classmates, and the few times he was required to speak for a class assignment, students mocked his poor English and deep-throated voice. So by the time he got into Virginia Tech, his silence got louder. In his junior year, he told his then roommates that he had a girlfriend. Her name was Jelly, a supermodel who lived in outer space and who traveled with a spaceship. He also claimed that she only existed in the dimension of his imagination. Now that alone made him more of a weirdo, and quite frankly, almost no one wanted to be around him. Even worse was when he became fixated on several female students who eventually reported him to the cops for being a creep. He would take these creepy pictures of them with his cell phone beneath his desk, forcing many ladies to drop out of any class he attended. Cho was beyond weird. He was dejected, pushing people away the more he tried getting close to him. And it was at this point in his life that he decided to turn against humanity. February 9th, 2007, Cho purchased his first gun and frequently took it for gun range practice. He also rented a van and bought a few other items for the shooting over the next couple of months. He would shave his hair to a military buzz cut, and within that period, he recorded a series of videos, giving details as to why he wanted to carry out his dreadful plans.
This is it. This is where it all ends. Ended there. What a life it was. So nice. Do you think I wanted to do this? Do you think I've ever dreamed of dying like this in a million years? I didn't want to do this.
Honestly, that's probably the most anybody ever heard him talk. And it's disturbing because Cho actually sent a 23-minute video manifesto to NBC, but only about 2 minutes of that video was released to the public. Nonetheless, his actions spoke more, as on April 16, 2007, Cho got out of his dorm around 5 a.m., gained access to the West Ambler Johnston's residence hall, and killed 2 victims in a dorm room. Then around 9:40 a.m., Cho entered Norris Hall, which housed the engineering science and mechanics program among others. Now in his backpack were some heavy-duty chains and locks, a hammer, a knife, 2 purchased handguns, and nearly 400 rounds of ammo. Using locks and chains, he would secure the 3 main entrance doors, leaving them firmly shut. He then placed a note on one of the doors warning that any attempt to open it would trigger a bomb. And in the 15 minutes that followed, Cho fired more than 175 rounds, killing 30 people instantly. Law enforcement was called and a SWAT team immediately responded by entering the building. But as they approached his location, Cho pulled out his Glock and shot himself. This guy killed 33 people and left 23 injured. December 14, 2012, at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, Adam Lanza brutally killed 20 students and 6 school employees before taking his own life. Now, this horrifying act devastated the entire nation. However, the true shocker came when investigations revealed that Lanza had called a radio show to talk about this shooting a year before it happened. For context here, Adam lived in Newtown with his mom, Nancy Lanza, and from a young age he was exposed to a lot of firearms. That's because his mom was a gun enthusiast who had a lot of guns lying around the house. Now in school, Adam was frequently struck with anxiety. He hated the crowdedness of the classroom, and at first it seemed like a minor problem, but over time it became worse, making his parents withdraw him from that institution to homeschool him. But this would prove not to be the best of ideas down the line. Within the period he was being homeschooled, Adam was diagnosed with a lot of mental illnesses, including schizophrenia, OCD, and neurodevelopmental disorder. These illnesses took a toll on him, making him stay locked up in his room for unusual hours. He never came out. All he did was play shooting games and watch videos of school shootings. So fast forward to a couple of years later, and Adam would do one of the worst things you can imagine.
I'm a fan of your writing.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to bring up such an old news story, but I couldn't find anything that you said about the topic, and it seems relevant to your interest, so I thought I would bring up Travis the Chimp. Do you remember him?
I don't.
December 11th, 2011. Adam calls a university radio station, Anarchy Radio, where he sympathized with Travis, a chimpanzee, which in 2009 ripped off a woman's nose, hands, lips, and eyelids in Connecticut. The chimp was domesticated and raised like a human child, so Adam compared the chimp's behavior to that of a mass shooter. And in a moment, we'll explain how that all links back to him.
It goes without saying that Travis was very overweight. He was 200 pounds when he should have been around the low hundreds. And he was actually taking Xanax.
Amazing.
I couldn't find any information about why he was taking it, but it just seems to say a lot that he was giving it at all. And basically, I think Travis wasn't really any different than a mentally handicapped human child.
You see, Adam explained that Travis was a wild animal living among civilization, which he mirrored to his own life by saying Travis wasn't different from a mentally ill child. Now, this was because Adam truly felt like an outsider, living among people with whom he never quite fit in.
I'm bringing it up because afterward, everyone was condemning his owner for saying how irresponsible she was for raising a chimp like it was a child, and that she should have known something like this would happen because chimps aren't supposed to be living in civilization, they're supposed to be living in the wild.
Adam said people blamed the owner of the chimp for its actions because he knew that after he had carried out the school shooting, his mother would get blamed for raising a monster. So he then made it clear that much like the chimp, people would say he didn't exhibit any obvious signs that would have suggested he wanted to kill so many people. And finally, Adam would draw a comparison between humans and chimps, noting that, much like chimps, humans are capable of creating the biggest monsters.
Isn't something which just happens to gently exist without us having to do anything, because every newborn child, human child, is born in a chimp-like state, and civilization is only sustained by conditioning them for years on end so that they'll accept it for what it is. And since we've gone through this conditioning, we can observe a human family raising a human child, and I'm sure that even you have trouble intuitively seeing it as something unnatural. But when we see a chimp in that position, we viscerally know that there's something profoundly wrong with the situation. And it's easy to say there's something wrong with it simply because it's a chimp, but what's the real difference between us and our closest relatives? And Travis wasn't an untamed monster at all. He wasn't just feigning domestication, he was civilized. He didn't act really any differently than a human child would, and the people who would use that as an indictment against having chimps live as humans do wouldn't apply the same thing to humans, so it's just kind of irrelevant. But anyway, look what civilization did to him. It had the same exact effect on him as it has on humans. He was profoundly sick in every sense of the term, and he had to resort to these surrogate activities like watching baseball and looking at pictures on a computer screen and taking Xanax. He was a complete mess.
So if you don't already get it, Adam's drawing a parallel between himself and Travis, using the analogy to justify his actions. And by aligning his motivations with those of Travis, he portrayed himself as a victim of civilization, and presumably felt no remorse on the day he orchestrated those murders. So a year later, on December 14th, 2012, 20-year-old Adam Lanza shot through a plate glass window next to Sandy Hook's locked front entrance in order to gain access to the school. Hearing the loud bang from the gun, the school's principal and school psychologist went out to check what had happened, but got shot on sight. Adam was packing a semi-automatic rifle, 2 semi-automatic pistols, and multiple rounds of ammo. He then shot and wounded 2 other Sandy Hook staff members before entering 2 classrooms. In one class, he shot 2 teachers and 15 students, and in another, he fired at 2 teachers and 5 students. Subsequently, when Lanza heard the police closing in on him, he shot himself. And in the aftermath of that incident, police discovered that sometime earlier that morning, before arriving at Sandy Hook, Lanza had shot and killed his 52-year-old mother at their home. She owned the weapons her son used in his deadly rampage. What you're seeing here is not people running from a terrorist attack or a group of killers. Instead, they're running from one killer, Conor Betts, who was on a deadly rampage, having already murdered multiple people that night. August 4th, 2019, Conor Betts opened fire near the entrance of Ned Pepper's Bar in the Oregon district of Dayton, Ohio, killing 9 people, including his sister, and wounding 27 others. Now, before this attack, Betts had made online posts referencing Satan and describing himself as a leftist and supporter of anti-racist movements. This guy got suspended from Bellbrook High School after he made a list of students he wanted to kill and rape, and that list was discovered by his 9th grade teacher, who just so happened to find herself on that list. He got suspended after that, resulting in this police investigation. However, he wasn't really charged with anything at that time. Now, his classmates were really scared of him, and sometimes he would tell his then-girlfriend that he had visual and auditory hallucinations while harboring thoughts to carry out a school shooting. So fast forward a couple of years later, and Betts' thoughts finally became a reality. Now, on the day of the incident, investigations revealed that Betts liked an X post in favor of gun control and several others concerning the El Paso shooting that claimed 23 lives. He then goes ahead to purchase an AR-style pistol online and a .223 caliber high-capacity rifle with 100 drum magazines, holding up to 250 rounds of ammo. He goes out with his sister, 22-year-old Megan Betts, and a mutual friend, to the stretch of bars and clubs in the Oregon District. And sadly, that's when the carnage began. At around 1:10 a.m., Betts opened fire, firing 41 shots in just 30 seconds. One shot would hit a person in the alleyway before Betts turned to his sister and shoots her and their mutual friend. At this point, the entire district was in flames as law enforcement was already on the scene, engaging Betts in a fierce gun battle. And from the last video recording he was captured in, Conor was about to run into this crowded bar to start a shootout, but was gunned down barely 2 steps away from the entrance. The 9 people he killed included 6 men and 3 women, while 2 were accidentally shot at and killed by the police. But just imagine what could have happened if he made his way into that bar. Imagine the countless more lives that could have been lost within minutes or even seconds. Betts was more than just an evil kid. He was a serial killer. By some standards, Jafar Alay wasn't an evil kid, but his actions were evil enough to make it to this countdown. September 2015, a harrowing video recording surfaced, showing Jafar Alay being reluctant to carry out a mission. Jafar bursts into tears as he was ordered to blow himself up during an attack on a Syrian village. And despite his apparent fear of dying, Jafar was told to drive an armored vehicle packed with explosives into the besieged villages of Fua and Kafriye. For context, Tayyar's mission was part of a wider attack during the Syrian civil war. He was from Uzbek, but Uzbekistan as a state didn't engage in the Syrian civil war. However, individuals like Jafar joined various extremist groups fighting in Syria, including ISIS and Al-Qaeda. More than 200 rockets and 7 separate bombers were driven into Syria in a short time span. Jafar Alay particularly worked for Al-Qaeda through its affiliate group, Jabhat al-Nusra. Now al-Nusra and his men filmed Jafar, glorifying him as a martyr. But Jafar wasn't a martyr, or at least that's what his actions suggested, as he was far from embracing death. The video begins by showing Tayyar being cuddled by several other militants loyal to the Imam Bukhari Jamaat militant group. Unable to grow a beard, Jafar looks way younger than his fellow jihadis, who smile and pat him on the back as he prepares for his mission. He openly cried as he sat in this explosive-filled armored vehicle. Off camera, other militants can be heard trying to reassure him, saying,
"Jafar, my brother, don't be afraid. When you're scared, remember Allah."
At the prompting of the person recording him, the jihadi raises his right index finger in the air, a gesture widely used by jihadis which supposedly means Allah is the highest. At this point, Tayyar's facial expression changes as the reality of what he's about to do hits him. Looking at the scene around him, Jafar realizes he is just moments from death, and the clip then cuts to Tayyar driving off into the distance and blowing himself up, causing a huge mushroom cloud to rise high in the air.
We are now seeing some new video of a teen, that moment right before and after he is accused of stabbing his mother to death.
October 12th, 2023, just moments before the brutal attack that took her life, 39-year-old Irina Garcia was captured on a baby monitor, lovingly holding her newborn daughter. Now, Garcia had given birth 14 days earlier and was home alone with her baby and teen son in their Hialeah, Florida apartment. But a couple of moments after, her teen son commits an act that didn't just change the course of her life forever, but rather put an end to it. This evil teenager, 13-year-old Derek Rosa, was known by family and friends as polite, respectful, an honor roll student with no history of aggression. However, this image didn't hold up, as just days before the incident, he began searching online for disturbing phrases like, "What is the best place to stab someone? Is it easier to kill someone with a small knife?" And the carotid artery image diagram. Unfortunately, his truck driver stepfather was out of town at the time, and before he took his mother's life, they had a brief exchange. His mother, Irina, warned him not to run outside, to which Rosa replied, questioning why she cared so much, and why she always told him not to run. Now, this conversation seemed harmless at the time, but just a couple of hours later, as his mother went to bed with her baby beside her, Derek Rosa stepped in with a knife and stabbed her 46 times in the neck. Now, immediately after murdering her, Derek texted an online friend called Sweden 2 pictures of Irina's dead body, along with a selfie proudly showing his bloody hand with his tongue out. After that, Derek made a 911 call confessing what he had done to the operator. Some parts of the audio and video recordings have been uploaded online, and they just make this already twisted case even more diabolical.
Why did you kill your mom? I need to know if your mom is breathing.
She's dead, miss. There's blood all over the floor.
That was part of Derek's conversation with the dispatcher, and after he was asked if his mom could be helped, he said this.
I need to know, do you think we can help your mom?
She's dead.
For the record, the call's very strange, because despite the fact that he had just killed his mom in cold blood, Rosa sounded like a disoriented 7-year-old on the call, which didn't make any sense if the murder was premeditated.
Do not open until I tell you to open the door, and to make sure that you have nothing but your cell phone in your hands.
Miss, are they gonna kill me?
No, they're not gonna kill you. We're here to help you, okay? We're gonna help your family, okay?
And if he did do it on purpose, what exactly was the motive? If he was suffering from some type of mental illness, he might have taken the baby's life too, right? But he didn't, making authorities believe he killed his mom out of a deep resentment for her. I mean, to stab a person 46 times isn't something anyone would simply pull off. But anyway, once he was arrested, he made a full confession about everything that happened, but refused to state his motive. He was asked twice, and the first time he avoided the question by asking to use the restroom. The second time, he ended the interview by requesting a lawyer. Now, his biological father and grandmother have supported him, with his father delusionally hoping Rosa is set free so that he can put the murder behind him and move on. Well, that's definitely not how the legal system works. And besides, there's a plethora of evidence revealing Rosa's actions were premeditated. Right now, there's no detail in this case. All we know is that Rosa will be tried as an adult. However, for every appearance he's made in court, Derek Rosa has never shown an ounce of emotion.
Hey, this shit's so fun. Look at my son right here. I just told him I'm finna kill his ass. You hear me? That's up, cuz, on my soul. But see, everybody think I'm joking, right? I'm playing, right? Everybody think I'm playing, right? Right, okay. This gonna be the last time. This be the last video I make. Nigga, God rest my soul.
That was 20-year-old Francois Littlejohn telling his own son that he was about to murder him. And true to his words, Littlejohn murdered not just his son, but his 2 other children, and then himself, all because his baby mama cheated on him, and he gave him STDs. Around 4 a.m. on August 6th, 2022, officers with the Oklahoma City Police Department were called to a house on the 8300 block of Northwest 109th Street. The call was made by one of Littlejohn's relatives after seeing his live on social media where he blatantly laid those threats on his kids. However, by the time the officers got there, Littlejohn wasn't home, nor was his car in the garage. Authorities immediately launched a manhunt, and around dawn, they found Francois Littlejohn and his 3 children lying dead in his parked car around the 11300 block neighborhood of Tremont Lane in Oklahoma City. So, what do we know about this? Well, according to the video, Littlejohn wailed over the fact that he gave his girlfriend, who wasn't identified, everything she wanted.
Wow! 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 After everything I gave you, cuz. After everything, all I wanted was a conversation. Told you, all you had to do was talk to me. All I wanted was conversation. That's it.
He also claimed that she had cheated on him multiple times in the past, and he forgave her each time she did.
I wanted you to be woman enough to look me in my eyes. 13 years of my life given to you, but you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. You want to go lay up with and get and whatever the case. You're slick, my nigga. You lied, my nigga. You're a habitual cheater, my nigga. And you have given yourself to men. You have given me STD behind this.
Littlejohn was seen waving a gun in the live video, and a child could be seen in the front passenger seat of the vehicle, identified to be a white Dodge Charger. And as you heard, it seems as though Littlejohn had been with this woman for over 13 years, but it doesn't seem like their relationship was all that rosy, since court documents suggested that the lady in question had reported Littlejohn over a domestic violence incident. Reports say that that is the reason behind her leaving the house that she lived in with Littlejohn. A surveillance camera would capture Littlejohn pulling into the neighborhood where his deceased body was found by an early morning jogger. A gun and his cell phone were found on his lap at the time the authorities arrived. In the aftermath of this incident, a GoFundMe account was set up to help the family plan their funerals, and over $8,000 has been raised so far. But regardless of how much money is eventually raised, it's completely sickening to imagine that Francois Littlejohn used his 3 kids as collateral damage to take out his own pain. What a mess.
What you doing? I'm gonna tell your mama. I'm gonna tell your mama.
That was the last disturbing recording of Javon Martin and his girlfriend, Michaela Simon, minutes before he accidentally shot her in the chest with the same gun he held in that video. Michaela Simon was a freshman at Lamar High School who had just celebrated her birthday with friends a few days before. Her mother had uploaded a heartwarming post about her daughter to Facebook. It read,
Michaela Simon was born January 24th, 2004. She was pretty with chunky cheeks, with pretty brown eyes.
Alicia Simon wrote,
She's my ride or die chick. She's growing up to be a beautiful young lady, and I'm so blessed to have her in my life forever. Happy birthday, baby girl.
On the other hand, 17-year-old Javon was apparently into street living. The young couple had started dating a year prior, after Javon was charged with felony for unauthorized use of a vehicle. Court documents say he allegedly used another man's car without effective consent, and this landed him in jail. But in reality, Javon had been riding around in the passenger seat of that car with an older friend. To his luck, he was granted a $1,000 bail a few days later, allowing him to go back to holding down a job at KFC. He never had any more run-ins with the law, and got mostly A's in school. He'd already earned 22 college credits and planned to attend Prairie View A&M University in 2020. Unfortunately, that dream has been cut off for the time being. Javon and Martin were lodged in a Houston apartment to celebrate her birthday over the weekend, but for some unknown reason, Javon brought a rifle with him to that apartment. He took it out and aimed it at Michaela, who recorded the incident. In the video already shown, she could be heard laughing and telling him subtly to stop, indicating that she wasn't in a real threat. Also, Javon thought that he had the gun in safety, but he didn't, leading him to fire a callous shot at Michaela, killing her before first responders could get her to a hospital. And after 3 years of legal troubles, Javon Martin pled guilty to negligent homicide and was sentenced to 4 years in prison.
supposed to happen tonight. So hopefully everything will go wrong. Everything will go smoothly. We can get our first kill done, started, and keep going.
On the night of September 22, 2006, Cassie Joe Stoddard was house-sitting for her aunt and uncle, Allison and Frank Contreras. The Contreras family was out of town and had hired Stoddard to take care of their 3 cats and 2 dogs while they were away. Cassie then invited her boyfriend, Matt Beckham, to come stay with her. Later, her classmates, Brian Draper and Tori Adamczyk, came over to hang out with them too. At least, that's what Cassie thought. After giving them a quick tour of the house, the 4 of them sat down to watch a movie. However, Brian and Tori's visit was part of a sinister plan to carry out Cassie's murder. For over a week, Brian and Tori had been meticulously planning how they would kill Cassie. They documented every detail of that plan in a video documentary showing the chilling events behind their actions.
We're going to make history. We're gonna make history. We found our victim, and sad as it may be, she's our friend. But you know what? We all have to make sacrifices. Hello, Cassie. I'm getting you on tape, okay? Say hi, please. Hi. Okay, see ya.
To these people, Cassie's life was a mere joke, and killing her was going to make them famous. We don't know how in the world they thought killing a classmate would be celebrated, but before leaving the house that night, Draper had unlocked the basement door, allowing him and Tori to re-enter undetected. When they returned, they intentionally made loud noises in this attempt to lure Matt and Cassie downstairs. When this failed, they found the circuit breaker and turned off the power, hoping the 2 would come down to investigate. This too also failed, but it heightened Cassie's fear. Matt Beckham then called his mother, asking if he could stay over to protect Cassie, but she refused. About an hour later, she arrived to pick him up, leaving Cassie all alone. Now, to highlight the absurdity of their plan, Draper and Adamczyk repeatedly banged on objects in the basement, trying to lure Cassie into checking what was happening. When she still didn't respond, they would head upstairs, brandishing knives purchased from a pawn shop, and launched a brutal attack. They stabbed her at least 30 times to death, and after murdering her, they added this twisted and depraved clip to their absurd documentary.
We just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a joke. I stabbed her in the throat, and I saw her lifeless body just disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie.
Well, their silly video eventually led the cops to their doorsteps, and on September 27, 2006, they were both charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. They were tried separately, with each teen blaming the other for the crime. In the end, they were both given life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 30 years to life for the conspiracy charges.
Parker County 911, where's your emergency?
My house.
What's the address?
152 River Creek Lane.
Okay, what's the emergency?
I just killed my mom and my sister.
What?
I just killed my mom and my sister.
You just killed your mother and your sister? How did you do that?
I shot them with a .22 revolver.
Jake Evans willingly made himself an orphan by murdering his mother and sister in a horrifying and calculated act. His desire to kill was sparked by watching the horror movie Halloween, featuring a boy committing murders without remorse. Fascinated by that character, Jake decided to bring this fiction to life. Now, tensions escalated when his sister Mallory made a racist comment, leading to an argument. Jake began seeing his family as bullies and racists, fueling his preconceived idea of killing them. On the day of the murders, he initially planned to use a knife, but switched to a .22 caliber revolver he had stolen from his grandfather. He invited his sister to watch a movie, and during it, he shot her. Hearing the shots, the mother rushed downstairs, and Jake shot her twice. Immediately after, he called 911 and calmly explained to the dispatcher what he had done. The chilling conversation unfolded like this.
Jake?
Yes?
Are you on any kind of medication?
No. Well, I've been going to the allergist a lot lately.
Yeah.
My mom. But no, nothing other than that.
Okay, how old are you?
17.
You don't take any other kind of medication?
I mean, other than like Zyrtec and like Advil and, you know, like Sudafed and stuff like that, you know, for the allergies and headaches, but
Yeah.
no.
Okay, do you, is there any reason that you were so angry at your mother and your sister?
I don't know, I wasn't, it's weird, I wasn't even really angry with them. It just kind of happened. I've been kind of planning on killing for a while now.
The two of them, or just anybody?
Pretty much anybody.
Jake, my officers are almost there. Would you be willing to walk out on your own?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
He was convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and was sentenced to 45 years in prison.